What's going on, y'all? I'm Czar, and in this video we're going to be comparing some of the plugins that comes in the UA Spark bundle to some of my favorite plugins. This is going to help me determine, is it going to be worth me to pay $20 a month to keep this UA subscription when I already have a lot of other plugins that emulate the same plugins that UA have. Now, I've never used UA plugins before. I've never bought into that ecosystem because I just didn't feel it was necessary when I had so many other plugins from Waves and Softube, etc. But I've always said, in my opinion, while I've never used UA plugins before, that I don't feel that they can be that much better that it's worth me buying into a whole nother ecosystem, abandoning other plugins that I already have. So this video is going to help me determine that. Should I keep these UA Spark bundles? Are they worth $20 a plugin? Or are they worth $20 a month for these plugins? And do they sound that much better than what I already have? Let's get started. So I'm going to be judging these plugins based off their sound and functionality. We're going to start with the UAD 1073 channel strip and the Waves Scheps 73, which is one of my go-tos when I want a 1073 style EQ. And I've got a vocal here from Simone Curry. I've got a de-esser on the vocal, but that's the only thing that's on the vocal besides a little bit of reverb. All right, so we're going to start with the UAD 1073, and then I'll play the Scheps.
Before I close my eyes, and every time I see the sunrise, yeah. Before the pressure's on my mind, I gotta take a look at my gut. And now it keeps defying the odds. You supply me with my needs, oh yeah. Before I close my eyes, and every time I see the sunrise, yeah. Before the pressure's on my mind, I gotta take a look at my gut. And now it keeps defying the odds. You supply me with my needs, oh yeah.
All right, and of course, I've got both of these set to the same exact settings. We've got a 3 dB high shelf at 12K, and I've got a 2 dB cut at 220 Hertz and a high pass filter at 160 Hertz. So what I'm hearing between these are the Scheps is a little brighter to me by just a hair, and the UAD is just a little warmer to me by just a hair. Very similar tone I feel from both of these. Let's look at the functionality. These are pretty much the same functionality, except for with the Waves, we can calibrate the VU meter if you wish to. It's not something I've ever done before. But I do like, for functionality, I'm going to give the edge here to the UA 1073. I like this pad switch as well as the low and high impedance. It does make a difference. And with the UAD channel strip, we can take the mic pre-gain and we can definitely hear it changing gain as we sweep through this. I won't do it right now because it's going to get extremely loud, which is very annoying when setting gain with a 1073. But for whatever reason, the Waves one, no matter what I set this to, it does nothing. And I'll just demonstrate that here.
Before I close my eyes, and every time I see the sunrise, yeah. Before the pressure's on my mind, I gotta take a look at my gut. And now it keeps...
Yeah, so I don't know. That does nothing with the Waves. You do have the drive button here that adds some distortion that I like. I can get that distortion with the UAD, but it takes a lot more setting or fiddling with it. I mean, because okay, I'll just go ahead and demonstrate it. Watch this. I'm going to turn this knob here.
Before I close my eyes, and every time I see the sunrise, yeah.
Yeah, let's turn on the plug-in.
Before I close my eyes, and every time I see the sunrise, yeah. Before the pressure's on my mind, I gotta take a look at my gut. And now it keeps defying the odds. You supply me with my needs, oh yeah. And even when I still complain.
So we can use that mic pre to get some saturation out of this. Whereas you can't do that with the Waves. We can just turn this drive on, and that's really it. So over between these two, I'm going to give the edge to the UA one. for its extended functionality there with the mic pre. My go-to right now for a Neve style channel strip is the Kit Plugins BB N105. Technically, this is not a 1073 style EQ, but it is a Neve style EQ, so we'll use it for this demonstration. I thought I had this set. I guess it reset itself somehow. Okay, so let's set this up. Now, because this is not a 1073 EQ, we don't have the exact same frequency points here, but we can get kind of close. So we'll do a 10K shelf at 3 dB, 330 hertz. We'll cut 2 dB and we'll do 150 hertz high pass filter here. All right, so I'm going to play it again, the UAD 1073, and then the Kit Plugins BB N105.
Before I close my eyes, and every time I see the sunrise, yeah. Before the pressure's on my mind, I gotta take a look at my gut. And now it keeps defying the odds. You supply me with my needs, oh yeah. Before I close my eyes, and every time I see the sunrise, yeah. Before the pressure's on my mind, I gotta take a look at my gut. And now it keeps defying the odds. You supply me with my needs, oh yeah.
All right, so what I'm hearing in this one, I feel like even though we have a 10K shelf versus a 12K shelf, I do feel like the Kit Plugins, the BB N105 is giving me more of what I'm liking in the high end there. And as far as functionality, when it comes to functionality, I'm going to have to give this one to the BB N105 because we have more frequency points, so it's a more versatile EQ section. We also have the option to change the Q to a narrow Q, which we don't have with the UAD. We have high and low pass filters, and you can very easily control the saturation in the BB N105, which I love. With the UAD, like I said, it's going to take me some time to dial it in, and I'll show you just how simply you can dial in the saturation with the BB N105. I'm going to select this auto gain feature here, and what this is going to do is when I turn up the mic pre to compensate, it's going to turn down the output level. So watch how quickly I can set this now to add some saturation. You see I've got saturation on. That's another thing about the BB N105. I can turn the saturation on or off. But with it on, we're in mic mode. Let's turn up the mic pre and show you how quickly and easily I can get saturation here.
Before I close my eyes, and every time I see the sunrise, yeah. Before the pressure's on my mind, I gotta take a look at my gut. And now it keeps defying the odds. You supply me with my needs, oh yeah.
So you can see why the BB N105 has been one of my go-to for a Neve channel strip sound. So between these two, I'm going to give the edge to the BB N105 for its extended functionality here. All right, let's move on to the next plugin. We're going to keep for the rest of this, because I do like the EQ settings on here for this vocal. We're just going to leave the 1073 on. And the next one we're looking at is the CLA-2A from UA, and we're going to be comparing that with a couple opto compressors here. The first one is the Black Rooster VLA-2A. All right, so let's get these both up here. And for this, we're going to move it down a little bit further in the song here, where she hits some parts that obviously need some compression here. All right, we're going to start with the UAD.
Can't compete, no, your love will never change, no way. Don't even know how it's gonna work out. Stroking my hands in my pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your ways.
right, so between those two, I felt like the VLA-2A was just a little warmer than the UA, and they both handled the compression well. We hit 10 dB there, and it never sound squashed at all. So as far as the compression characteristics on both of these was really good. So I'm happy with the sound on both of them. When we come to functionality, the VLA-2A hands down. If we look at the extra features that we have here, we've got a wet and dry blend. We've got a makeup gain, which is interesting to have on a LA-2A style compressor. We have a external sidechain. We have a cell select, which is the option between 3 different opto cells in this plugin. And then we have emphasis, which the UA has emphasis as well. And so for functionality, combined with the sound, I'm gonna have to go with the VLA-2A on this one. Let's check out another opto compressor. And speaking of the sidechain, I'll go ahead and mention this before I forget, but I've realized that none of these UA compressors have sidechain, which is a, well, not a red flag, but just something to be aware of. I don't know why UA didn't put sidechain into any of these compressors, but whatever, they chose not to. Next opto compressor, of course, we're going to have to check out the Waves CLA-2A. And, you know, this one, when it comes to functionality, we're looking at, you know, pretty much the same thing here. When it comes to functionality on these, I mean, if you really want to list it as a feature, the Waves has the 60 and 50 hertz to give that noise that we all hate. So let's play it one more time with the UA.
Can't compete, no, your love will never change, no way. Don't even know how it's gonna work out. Stroking my hands in my pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your ways. Can't compete, no, your love will never change, no way. Don't even know how it's gonna work out. Stroking my hands in my pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your ways.
All right, so between these two, as far as the sound, I'm going to give it to the UA. I just felt like it held the compression together a little better than the Waves. I felt like I feel like if I pushed the Wave just a little bit more, it would start to choke. But overall, they both sounded good, but because the CLA-2A felt like it was going to choke a little bit there when we were really pinning the needle there at 10 dB, going to give the edge to the UA1 on this one. All right, next one we're going to look at is the 1176, which we've got the UA here, and we've got the Waves CLA-76. So we'll start with the UA.
Can't compete, no, your love will never change, no way. Don't even know how it's gonna work out. Stroking my hands in my pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your ways. Good. Can't compete, no, your love will never change, no way. Don't even know how it's gonna work out. Stroking my hands in my pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your ways.
All right, so between those, I felt like the UA was smoother on the compression. When it comes to functionality, I mean, they're pretty much the same compressor, but the UA version does have a mix knob here for wet and dry for parallel compression that the Waves does not. So functionality, gonna have to go with the UA, and I think sound-wise, I'm gonna have to go with the UA on this bluey here. We'll switch over to the black, and we'll start with the UA.
Can't compete, no, your love pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your ways. Can't compete, no, your love will never change, no way. Don't even know how it's gonna work out. Stroking my hands in my pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your ways. Good.
All right, so with this one, I feel this was more of a toss-up. That this was more closer than with the Bluey. Both of these compressions sounded smooth on here to me. A little aggressive on the where we were really pinning it, but I mean that's an 1176 sound. Same thing with the functionality. We've got a mix knob on the UA. I guess it is worth noting with the Waves version, you get the blue and black in the same plugin, whereas with the UA, you've got, what, 2-3 different versions that you have to choose from, individual plugins that you have to choose from. And I didn't pull it in here, but I forgot to, but I want to also, let's pull the Waves back up. I want to also grab the FET compressor from Softube because that is also a 1176. All right, so let's dial this in really quickly. Let's get the UA one back up here. Thought I pinned that. All right. All right, let's get this dialed in real quick.
Can't compete, no, your love will never change, no way. Don't even know how it's gonna work out. Stroking my hands in my pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your ways. Can't compete, no, your love will never change, no way. Don't even know how it's gonna work out. Stroking my hands in my pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your ways.
All right, I feel like the FET compressor is just a little darker, but it still has a great sound. The UA sounds great too, so I'm still not going to declare a winner here. I think they both, only real difference I feel like I'm hearing as far as the sound and tone is that I feel like the Softube is a little darker. But when it comes to functionality, definitely have more functionality on the Softube here. We can go all the way down to 1-to-1 ratio, which is of course no compression, and we can go anywhere in between. So the ratio is completely variable, which is nice. We do have external side chain. We have a low cut as well as a high cut as well in the detector, and we also have a nice look ahead feature here as well, and you also get wet and dry. So as far as functionality, gonna have to go with the Softube. All right, we've been listening to the peer plate from UAD, and we're going to be comparing this to the Fuse Audio VREV-140. Looking at these, it's obviously modeled off of the same plate. So we're going to be comparing these, and I've got them both set the same. I'm going to turn up the send just a little bit so we can hear the reverb a little more, and I'm going to go ahead and solo the vocals so we can really hear the reverb, and we'll compare these two, starting with the UA. All right, so this is the plate, the UA plate.
Can't compete, no, your love will never change, no way. Don't even know how it's gonna work out. Stroking my hands in my pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your ways. Good to me, good to me, good to me, good to me, yeah. Can't compete, no, your love will never change, no way. Don't even know how it's gonna work out. Stroking my hands in my pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your way. Yeah. Good to me, good to me, good to me, good to me, yeah.
All right, so between these two, I feel like it's a toss-up as far as the sound goes. I didn't feel like one really outshined the other as far as sound. When it comes to functionality, gonna have to give that to the Fuse Audio here, because we've got a width control here that we can go down to 0, which is, I'm assuming, is mono, all the way up to 200%. That can really make this plate reverb very wide sounding. With the UA version, we just have balance, which we also have balance on the Fuse. We also have a drive as well, and we also have a high quality feature that we can turn on and off here, which should save some CPU. And then we also have the ability to turn on and off sync. All right, last plugin we are going to compare here. We're going to go over to the mix bus, and we're going to compare the Waves API 2500 to the UA 2500. All right, we're going to start with the UA.
Can't compete, no, your love will never change, no way. Don't even know how it's gonna work out. Stroking my hands in my pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your way. Yeah. Can't compete, no, your love will never change, no way. Don't even know how it's gonna work out. Stroking my hands in my pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your way. Yeah.
All right, it's really a toss-up for me right now. I'm going to push the waves a little harder for just a little more compression here.
Can't compete, no, your love will never change, no way. Don't even know how it's gonna work out. Stroking my hands in my pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your way. Yeah. Can't compete, no, your love will never change, no way. Don't even know how it's gonna work out. Stroking my hands in my pockets, look around and somehow you're good to me. You're so good in all your way. Yeah.
Okay, so between these two, as far as the sound, I'm going to give it to the UA, because for bus compression, I'm wanting glue, and I'm hearing more glue out of the UA than I am with the Waves. Looking at functionality here, we've got pretty much the same functionality here, except for the UA version has a mix knob here where the Waves doesn't. All right, so final thoughts on these. I don't think I'm going to keep this UA subscription. I think I've got enough to cover what UA is given in this subscription from other plugins that has more functionality. Even though some of them I do prefer over what I have now, I don't think it's that big of a difference sound-wise in order for me to keep them. But my impressions of using UA plugins for the first time is that they look great. I definitely like the UI on them, and they all do sound good. I mean, none of these that I've tried, I will say, performed poorly. So yeah, I guess they are worth the hype. Maybe not worth the money of the hype when I say worth the hype, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to keep this subscription, but it's going to be interesting to see what other plugins UA pulls into this bundle, and if that bundle will remain at $20. I think $20 is a kind of a safe spot for subscription services here. But definitely let me know your thoughts. Have you tried out UA Spark? And let me know what you think of these examples that I played for you here, comparing these. If you like this video, I appreciate a thumbs up. And if you want to continue to see content from me, then you know what to do. All right, any questions, comments, let me know, and I'll catch y'all next time. I invite you to check out my podcast, the Faders Up Podcast, a podcast about pro audio and beyond. Season 3 is now underway, and in this season, we'll be doing a lot of topics requested by listeners. So if you have a topic you want to hear discussed on the podcast, email us, DM us, or join us in our Facebook group, Faders Up Podcast, and let us know. And if you haven't checked out the podcast yet, I have a link in the description that'll take you to the page.